Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? What is the problem here in this program?
Sir, this program has backlog. Sorry, one glitch, sir. It should also print one with the perfect number series. It's not printing one. It's only taking the input after one. It's printing 624 and 628 somewhat one number. It's missing one. It has to print one.
Yes. But I don't think one can be considered as a perfect number because
Okay, sir.
one will not have any other factors, right? You can consider other numbers because one will have factors of itself only. Basically, it cannot have factors other than itself. If you take two will have factor as itself as well as one, another one, right? So more than one factors must be there, right? At least without having more than one factors, how can you consider that one? So that's why it will display only one from six, I think. So let us close this and let us start this super keyword purpose and use. We'll discuss this overriding concept tomorrow on the programs in the morning. Let me
Okay.
teach you. Actually, I thought of teaching you today super keyword and its uses. So let us complete the task today, and tomorrow we can spend time for uh, all these programs which you have done. Let I'll check them, discuss thoroughly about all the errors that we have in these programs and all. Okay, so as of now, we'll go ahead with the super keyword. Tomorrow we can spend complete time for those programs only. So there is a keyword called super keyword Java. What's the purpose of this super keyword? The programs that I've shown you yesterday in the previous day. What are the programs that I showed you? We were discussing some programs in the last class. This is override demo. This program we were discussing overriding. See, what is overriding? Overriding occurs only when inheritance is used. And overriding is nothing but a subclass having a method with the same name and type signature as that of superclass. For example, here in this, you have a double area method which receives one integer parameter and return type is double. This is defined in a class called override. Then we are creating another class called circle and extending from override. And here again, you are redefining this area method once again with different and same parameter number type. So there is only one parameter, and that too it is an integer type, right? So what is this called as? Called overriding. Why it has overriding? Because it is a subclass for override class has this method, and circle is redefining the method again. So that means what? This over area method will have two versions. One version from the superclass, another version from the subclass. And how will the runtime environment know which method to call
Sir,
at runtime when you try to call a method? Yeah,
వాయిస్ చాలా బ్రేక్ అవుతుంది సార్.
when you now, hello, is it okay now?
ఓకే సార్. హలో.
Hello,
హలో.
okay now? Is it okay now?
Sir, hello. Hello.
Hello, you are audible. Tell me.
Yeah, sir. Actually, voice is totally breaking, sir. In between of the classes, the first word and the last word is coming, and the middle words are always cutting off.
Hello,
Hello,
how is it now?
sir. Still,
Check
sir.
on the.
Sir, ఇంకా అలానే ఉంది సార్ వాయిస్ అసలు క్లారిటీగా లేదు.
Oh, wait for a minute. Now I'm not telling it speak anything. Now I'm speaking. So how it is now? It is showing for network very poor. You are able to see on the screen. I think your connection is poor. This is right.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
maybe my network is poor. It is my network. It is showing poor. So that's the reason why.
Yeah, I think so, sir.
Hello. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. It's okay now.
Fine. See, when you are creating a
Sir,
method which is already defined with same name, so when you define a method which is already defined in superclass, and you redefine it again in subclass with same type signature and name and parameters and all. So we call that process as overriding. So when this happens, what will happen is this subclass circle will have two different versions of the same method area. Everything is same. They look identical in their type signature and name. So how will the runtime environment knows when you try to call using a subclass object circle, you're trying to call area method. So there will be two methods, two versions of area method. So it will not know which one to call, right? So it will prefer to call the version of the area method that is redefined in this subclass, because you are calling this area method using the object of subclass, right? So by this, what is happening is the superclass version is being overridden. That means it is hidden. You'll not be able to access the superclass version of this area method because it will be hidden by this subclass version. So this concept of hiding the superclass version of methods or variables by subclass version of the method, right? This is
Hello.
called as
Hello, sir.
overriding.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello. ఈరోజు బాగా ఇసుకిచ్చేస్తుంది. నెట్వర్క్ కరెక్ట్గా రావట్లేదు. అలాంటివే ఎందుకో. హలో,
Yes, sir. Hello.
వినిపిస్తుందా?
ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుంది సార్.
ఓకే. The subclass version of this area method is hiding the superclass version of the area method. So this process of hiding the superclass version of methods by the subclass version is called as overriding. So what is the solution for this? I want to invoke both the methods. I want to call this area method as well as I want to call this area method, right? But now it is not being possible when I create an object for circle. So to make a call to this area method of superclass, what I need to do is I need to create an object for override also. So here I create an object for override. The object name is O. Then now I can call using O. I can call say double. I'll make this as A2. Here I'll create one more variable A1. And I'll pass area with say 5. Okay. Then I'll display area of square also. Area of circle as like this. Now this will work for me. I do inheritance override demo Java. Both area of square and area of circle is being displayed. Right. So to call the superclass version, I require a superclass object, and to call subclass version, I require subclass version. But what is the advantage of inheritance when you have a subclass created for a class? Because that subclass will be inherited by all the members of superclass, you don't require an object of superclass to call all the methods. If you just create one object for one subclass, that is sufficient. Using that subclass object, you can call all the both the methods of subclass as well as superclass. That is the advantage of inheritance, right? But that advantage cannot be used here because of this overriding. Because you created area method twice, both in superclass and subclass with same name and type signature. So the advantage that we get from inheritance is not being utilized here properly, right? So how to get back that advantage? I must be able to call the superclass area method also using only subclass object. I don't need to create an object of superclass to call the superclass version of the area method, right? So this process, what happened in this program, uh, that is subclass version of area method is hiding the superclass version of the area method. This process is called as overriding. So how to overcome this overriding problem? So to overcome this overriding problem, we have solution in Java, and that solution is nothing but super keyword. Okay? So this super keyword has three different purposes. First one is this will allow us to invoke or call. So both mean the same. Superclass constructor. Secondly, it allows to access hidden variables. of superclass. Thirdly, to access of saying hidden, we'll use the term overridden methods of superclass. So these are the three purposes of super keyword in Java. First, let me explain about constructors, then we'll get back to hidden variables and overridden methods. So look at this program. This is class A. Right? This is class A defined. So you have one instance variable here. This is the parameterized constructor. This is a constructor for the class A. So what is it doing? It is receiving one integer parameter x and assigning that value to the variable. Then you have a method display which displays the variable a's value. Okay. Then I have another class called B, which is a subclass for A. And in this class, I have a variable instance variable B, and this is the constructor. This is the constructor, right? So now uh, this class B will have both instance variables A and B, right? Even though we declared B here, because B is a subclass for A, it will inherit the instance variable A also into this class B, right? And then you have a display method. Then you have C, which is extending B. So this is an example of multi-level inheritance. A is a superclass for B and B is a superclass for C, right? And then in C also you have an instance variable C, and you have a constructor, and you have a display method, right? But what I'm doing here is I'm not using some read method or something to initialize the instance variables. Look at class A. To initialize this instance variable A, I'm using the constructor. Right? So I'm passing x as parameter and assigning that x value to A so that the instance variable A will be initialized. And similarly, I want to do the same with B also. I want to do the same with B, right? So when I uh, create an instance variable B here, this class B will also have instance variable A also. And for B, I want to initial for the I'm creating a constructor which receives two parameters x and y, because I want to initialize A also from this constructor. So for initializing A, I have one parameter x, and for initializing B, I have another parameter y, right? But so what I have done here in the constructor, if you observe, I'm using the super keyword. Instead of using this x to initialize superclass variable A directly here, what I am doing is I'm directly I'm calling a super keyword. I'm using a super keyword to invoke the constructor. So what is this going to do is this is going to call the constructor of A automatically. So generally when the constructor will be invoked when you create an object for the class, right? So when you create an object like this, the constructor of the class will be invoked. But without that need for creating an object, if I just create an object for class B, then I must be able to invoke class A also, because I don't want to initialize instance variable A of class A directly within B. I want it to be initialized just like it is initialized with the constructor of A. So then what I can do is in the constructor of B, which is a subclass for class A, right? So I'm passing two parameters, and first statement what I'm writing here is the super keyword. If you observe the super keyword, how is it used? Like it is used like a method. So generally, how do you where do you use this syntax? The method name and followed by parenthesis, open and close, and within the parenthesis you pass some value or a variable. So this is just like a method call, right? So we use this syntax for calling a method. So I'm using this super keyword. what as in the form of a method and passing the parameter x. So what is this super keyword going to do by writing like this is it is going to call the constructor of the immediate superclass. So what is the immediate superclass for B? This is nothing but A. So what do you mean by immediate superclass? For example, in a multi-level inheritance, A is a sub superclass for B and B is a superclass for C. So for C, who is a superclass? B, and for B, who is a superclass? A. But when you take C, it has a parent class, and again that parent class has another parent class. So you can say that C has two superclasses, not directly but indirectly, from B and then from A. Right? It is inheriting properties from A as well as from B, but not directly. A is inheriting to B, and B is in turn inheriting both A and B features to C. Right? So you can call this B class as a immediate superclass for class C. Similarly, for class B, A is the immediate superclass, right? So what is this super keyword going to do is it is going to make a call to the immediate super key class constructor, that is A, by passing this x value to that A. So you are passing x value as parameter, right? So this x will be passed to this constructor A, and that will be assigning to A. So how this constructor is being invoked, even without creating an object for class A, it is being invoked. So when you create an object for class B, only class B's constructor will be invoked, right? But what if I want to invoke the superclass constructor, we don't have a mechanism. We need to create an object for class A, then only the constructor of class A will be invoked. But I don't want to create an object for class A, but I want to invoke the constructor of class A. So that can be made possible through the subclass constructor. When you create a constructor for subclass, from that constructor, the first statement itself, you must make a call to the superclass constructor by using the super keyword like this, and pass how many parameters are required for this constructor, superclass constructor. That many parameters exactly you must pass to that uh, constructor, and this must be the first statement in when you use it in the subclass constructor. Similarly, if I want to invoke a constructor of B, I don't want to create an object for B, instead I want to create an object for C, right? If I want to create an object for C, but even then I want to call the constructor of B as well as constructor of A, then what I have to do in class C again, I'll use the same concept and use the super keyword to call the immediate constructor of class C, super constructor of class C. So what is the superclass for class C? Class B is the superclass, and how many parameters are there for constructor of class B? Two parameters. So what I am doing in this constructor C is the first statement itself I am making a call to the superclass constructor by passing two parameters x comma y. So uh, first you will be creating an object for C, and when you create an object for C, the constructor of C class will be invoked by receiving three parameters, and then out of those three parameters, the first two parameters x and y will be passed to the superclass constructor. So from here, the control goes to the superclass constructor B, and then again in B, when it receives these two parameters, out of those two parameters, x will be passed to the superclass constructor, that is here, right? So this x will be assigned to the instance variable A, and here we'll come back to this place after completing the constructor of class A. So what is the next statement here? B is equal to y. So here the two out of these two parameters, x is passed to the superclass constructor, and superclass constructor gets executed, and after the superclass constructor is completed its execution, then we'll return back to this place and we'll execute the next statement here. So the next statement is assigning B with y, the second parameter. Then after this is completed, then you will return back to the place from where this constructor B is called. So where is the place from where you called this constructor? This is the place, right? From C class constructor. So here the next statement is C is equal to Z. So in that way, A, B, C, all the three variables are initialized by only creating object for class C without creating object for class A and class B, right? So now all the three variables are initialized. A, B, C, and C will have all the three variables A, B, C. Even though we are declaring only C, because C is extending B and B is in turn extending A. All the instance variables of A and B will also be members of C.
Hello, sir.
So,
Hi, sir. Had a query, sir. Hello.
అడుగు.
ఆ, ఏం లేదు సార్, నా క్వెరీ ఏంటంటే మీరు ఇక్కడ సూపర్ కీవర్డ్ వాడుతున్నారు కదా, సూపర్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ కామా వై అని. మీరు ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్తున్నప్పుడు ఇలానే అంటే సపోజ్ ఒక ఎక్స్టెండ్ మనము సబ్ క్లాస్ లో మెయిన్ క్లాస్ లో ఉన్న ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని మెయిన్ క్లాస్ లో ఉన్న ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని కాల్ చేయాలి అంటే ఇనిషియేట్ చేసుకోమని చెప్పారు కదా సార్. ఇలానే సపోజ్ నా డౌట్ ఏంటంటే సపోజ్ క్లాస్ ఏలో ఎక్స్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు ఏ, క్లాస్ బిలో వై ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు బి, క్లాస్ సి దగ్గరకు వచ్చేటప్పటికి ఎక్స్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు ఏ, వై ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు బి అని ఇనిషియేట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు కదా. అదే కాన్సెప్టే కదా ఇది అని నా డౌట్.
అక్కడ మన there what we have done is we didn't use constructor in those programs. We have used a read method or something. We didn't use constructor to initialize them. But here in this program we are using constructor. The previous program, for example, overridden method. See, what is that we have used? The class override. We have used area method and passed A as parameter, and we are assigning A to S. So where is that instance variable S initialized? Is it initialized in the constructor or this method area? So when you have area method, then there is no problem in creating an object for class C. Directly you can use the object name to call this method. But coming to constructor, how can you make a call to a constructor with an object of subclass? Constructors will be only called when an object for that particular class is created. They cannot be called in other means. But normal methods that we define, say display method, if you want to call display method which is defined here, right, and also once again here, again also once again here, right? So these are overridden methods. So to call these methods, we can use class C object or class B object, any object you can use. So if you use class C, you will be able to call all the versions. If you use class B, you will be able to call the A and B's version. If you use class A's object, then you will be able to call only A's version. In that way, if you create an object for C, then you can call all the methods of class C as well as class B as well as class A. But coming to constructors, if you create an object for subclass, you'll not be able to access the call the constructor of superclass, right? Superclass constructors will never be invoked. So let me take a simple example program. Instead of taking this big complex program, I'll take a simple program and write it for you so that you'll understand. Let me put this in comments. Okay, this is class. Let's take it as AB. Here I am taking two instance variables int A, comma B. In the constructor I am defining here, this receives two parameters int x, comma int y. I'm using A is equal to x and B is equal to y to initialize A and B. And so to display, I'm defining a method called display AB. Like this, capital AB I'll use. Dot out dot then is I'm giving. So I have defined AB class, right? Like this. So now this has both constructor as well as display method. Earlier we were not using constructor, we were using a read method and display method. And read method is used to initialize it, right? And coming to subclass, I'm going to create another subclass called C, uh, or say D, CD, extends AB. So what is the meaning of this one? Now class CD will have both the instance variables AB as well as display AB method. But will it be inherited with constructor? The constructor of superclass will not be inherited to the subclass constructor. What we were saying, only the methods and instance variables will be inherited to the subclass when using inheritance. Constructors will not be inherited, right? So you cannot call constructor directly using an object of subclass. So let me put this here. Int C comma D I am declaring here, and the constructor CD will also receive two parameters, say int x comma y. So I'll use C is equal to x, C is equal to y, and I'll copy this method and make a little modification to that method. Instead of display AB, I'm going to give display CD. Here also C, and this is D. Right? So now class CD will have two instance variables CD along with AB, which are inherited from class AB. So total together four instance variables will be there: A, B, C, and D. Right? And class AB has a display method AB, which will display both A and B values. Class CD has a display method which will display CD's values. Now, if I create an object for CD, my class, so I'm going to display here. I'm going to create a class called no super, which means that we are not using super keyword. Not no super keyword is used. I'm going to pass say 10 comma. Here this program. Now using object C1, what methods I can call? I can call display CD method, right? I can call display AB method. But can I call x int y? I'll not be able to call, right? So now first let me display you system dot out dot println value and printing this way. Access them like this, right? C1 dot A, C1 dot B, C1 dot C, C1 dot So if I print this A, B, C, D values, A and B values will be zeros, right? Because we are not creating any object for class AB. So when we don't create object for class AB, will this constructor AB be invoked? Will the constructor be invoked? It will not be invoked, right? But because we are creating an object for CD, constructor for CD will be invoked, and the CD will initialize the instance variables C and D with 10 and 20 that we are passing when we create an object. But what about class AB? Will the instance variables AB be initialized? So let me print this output for you. You are getting one error. So what is this error? Actual and formal argument list differ in length, right? So constructor AB in class AB cannot be applied to given types. Required int found no arguments. Means what? This constructor AB is not at all being invoked, even though you created a class for it and created the constructor for it. This constructor is not being invoked, and you're inheriting all the members of this class AB to class CD. So will this constructor will never be invoked. So that's the reason why you're getting this error, right? So if the constructor is not invoked, what will be the values of A and B? They will not be initialized, right? So how you can access them here? You'll not be able to access them. So that is the reason why I'm saying that even though you didn't create object for class A, if I create an object for class A, let me show you by creating an object for class A. I'm going to create A is B, A1, to new and AB. I'm going to pass A 2, comma 3 like this. Let me compile it again. So still you are getting this error. So again, constructor AB in class AB cannot be applied to given types. Required int actual and formal arguments differ in length. So actually, you need to pass two parameters, but no parameters are passed.
Sir, I think you are calling this one, no, sir, down C1 dot.
Yeah, I'm calling using C1,
No,
but
sir. System dot out dot println A is equals to C1 dot B. You are calling them differently, one by one. No.
yeah, that is what I'm saying. I'm making a use of C1 only to call all the A, B, C, D because A, B, C, D will be inherited to class C, right? So that's why I'm trying to call them with you. So if I use A1 here, so your doubt is this one, right? So I must use B1 like this. Must use A1 like this, right? This is what you're trying to say, right?
No, sir.
Then
Sir, my point is you have denoted AB as 2 comma 3 and CD 10 comma 20. And when you are trying to print them, you are printing them different, calling them like A1 dot A, A1 dot B separately. Is it acceptable?
yeah, that you can do. I'm not calling methods. I'm accessing instance variables of class A.
Okay, you are
What you have
accessing.
learned. Yeah, this is what you have learned at the beginning, right? How to access instance variables of a class from outside the class. Either you can directly print them in this way by using the object name dot instance variable name, right? Or you can access them through the methods. So for accessing the methods also, you'll use the same syntax, object name dot method name. To access the instance variable value also, you'll use the same syntax, object name dot variable name. This is what you learned in the beginning, right? I think you
Yes, sir.
forgot fundamentals. Don't get confused.
Okay, sir.
So let me show you that programs which you have written in the beginning. I don't know where they are. See this program? I created an object called S1 for class second, and the instance variables A, B, C. How did I print them? S1 dot A, S1 dot B, S1 dot C. Right? So this is permitted.
Okay, sir.
So I can use any object. I can use a CD object or AB's object to access the variables A, B, C, D. So if I use A1, I'll be able to access only A and B. But if I use C1, I'll be able to access all the four variables because CD is a subclass and CD will be inherited with the variables of A, B as well. Right? So that's why I can use CD. Right? Yeah. So now, instead of the system.out.println, I can also use object C1 call method display. Display is a method name CD. Right? But anyhow, my program is not being compiled. I am getting an error still here. This program will not work even if I write this. Okay. Still, I'll get this error. So you are not permitted to create only object for subclass or even only object for superclass and access all the constructors and all. So when you have superclasses and subclasses like this, that means when you use inheritance concept and if you are defining parameterized constructors for those classes. Earlier when we were writing inheritance programs, we never created constructors. That's why we didn't come across any such problems. So you look at the previous programs that we have written in inheritance, starting from the inheritance concept when I taught you. I hope it was around 3 to 4 days back. So we didn't we created superclasses and subclasses, but in all those classes we didn't create any constructors of our own. We were using only the default constructor, and we don't require to create a default constructor for a class, right? So that's why we didn't come across any such problem. But now in this program, what I'm doing is I'm creating an exclusive parameterized constructor for both the classes. So class AB, which is a super class, it has a parameterized constructor AB, which receives two parameters, and similarly subclass also has a parameterized constructor. So when you define constructors in classes, in superclass as well as subclass, when using inheritance, you will come across a problem like this. You will get these errors. So let me remove this one here and remove the comments for this one. And now I'll solve this problem using the super keyword and show it. Okay. So because you are creating an object for subclass and your subclass has a constructor, parameterized constructor, then you must definitely invoke the superclass constructor also. Then only your program will work, right? But how to invoke the superclass constructor without creating an object for superclass? I'm creating object only for subclass. So this when I create an object for subclass, the constructor of the subclass will be automatically invoked, right? But what about the superclass constructor? How to invoke this superclass constructor? We are not creating any object for that superclass. Even if you try to create an object for superclass constructor also, this will not work, right? Because you have created a subclass CD, and CD must be inherited with all the members of AB display method as well as instance variables AB. There must be a mechanism for calling the superclass constructor from the subclass. So that you can do by using super keyword like this. It must be the first statement, and when you use this super keyword in the form of calling a method, you need to pass parameters to that constructor. How many parameters that constructor requires? Two parameters. So we need to pass those two parameters in the subclass constructor. So let me pass this x comma y to that constructor. Then additionally to initialize c and d, because we require four values totally, right? uh, Two values to initialize a and b, and two values to initialize c and d. So let me take two more variables here, two more parameters, and say take instead of xy, I'll take m and n, and here o, then, and out of this m and op four parameters, I'll pass m comma n to the superclass constructor to initialize a and b, and I'll use o and p to initialize c and d. Right now, let me compile this program. Right. So I need to pass the four parameters here, say 30, 40, because I created the constructor for subclass CD with four parameters, right? And when I create an object for subclass CD, I need to pass four parameters. We didn't create A, we created only C1. Now the errors are gone. Your program will now work. It will display all A, B, C, D values. How I am accessing those A, B, C, D values? Object name dot A, object name dot B, object name dot C, object name dot D. Why I'm using this object here? Because I'm accessing this A, B, C, D values outside that class in which they are defined. They are defined in AB class. So within the class directly you can use A like this, B like this. Similarly, C and D like this without an object. But because I'm trying to access their values from outside the class in another class called no super, I definitely require an object of that class. This is what the fundamental thing that you learned in the beginning in classes and objects concept, right? So I'm using the subclass object C1 and accessing both superclass variables AB and subclass variables C and D. So this is permitted. So now using object C1, I can call both AB methods as well as CD methods. Now anyhow, when you call AB and CD, display AB and display CD methods, they will be displaying AB method, display AB method will be displaying A and B values. Display CD method will be displaying C and D values. So there is no need of printing these values using again system.out.println and object names like this. So I'll remove this and directly call display AB method and display CD method. Now also you'll get the same output: A value 10, B value 20, C value 30, D value 40. Okay, so when you are using constructors in subclass and superclass, right, and when you want to create an object for subclass, then definitely you must use this super keyword to call the superclass constructor, because superclass constructor cannot be invoked directly without creating an object for that class. And definitely when you create a subclass for any class, you must definitely use the super keyword to call the constructor of superclass like this. If the superclass constructor has two parameters, then you need to pass those two parameters using a super keyword like this from the subclass constructor. If it is having three, you need to pass three. If it is having one, then you need to pass one, right? And this super statement that you are writing in the subclass constructor, it must be the first statement in the subclass constructor. You cannot write this superclass constructor statement somewhere in middle here like this after c is equal to v. If you try to do this way, let me show you by compiling it. You will get an error. Right? All to super must be first statement in construct. So this will not allow you to use somewhere in the second line or even in the last line. Anywhere in the constructor you cannot use the super keyword. Again you will get the same error. So what does that mean? You must use this super keyword to call the superclass constructor only as the first statement. Subclass constructor. Then only this will work. Now if I compile it, it will work. Right? So this is the first purpose of super keyword. So what are the other two purposes? So I mentioned what is the first purpose? To invoke or call the superclass constructor. This is the first purpose of the super keyword. So when this must be used? Only when you use inheritance. If you are not using inheritance, you will not come across such problem. Because if you create a constructor for superclass, and that class will not be inheriting any properties for any other class, right? So directly you will be creating object for that class itself. And when you create an object for that class, if you are creating an object using subclass using a default constructor, then nothing will happen. If you are using a parameterized constructor, then you will pass those parameters to that constructor at the time of creating objects. So you will not come across any such problems there. Problem comes only when you use inheritance. Okay. So similarly, the same problem will occur even when using methods also. See, look at this program, the previous program that which I was showing you initially. Class A has display method, right? And class B is a subclass for class A, and again this also has display method. What is this called now? If you are defining a method in subclass with same name and type signature as that of a method in the superclass, what does it mean? It is overriding. So the subclass display method will override the superclass display method. If their names are different, then they will be overloaded. Sorry, not overloaded. They will be different methods. But if the type signature and name also is same, then they will be overridden, right? And what is overloading? The name is same, but the return type or number of parameters are different. Not even return type. If the number of parameters are different, then we call it as overloading. But here overloading is not occurring, overriding is occurring because the name of the method is same, display, right? And even the number of parameters is also same. Here you don't have any parameters, and here also you don't have any parameters. And this way we are overriding this method twice. Once in subclass B, and again for class B also you are creating another subclass C. There also I am redefining this display method. So it is overridden two times. So now if you are overriding two times, and now in the main method I am trying to create an object only for subclass C, then how about calling the display version of superclass B as well as superclass A? Just like you couldn't call constructors of superclass there in that program, you will not be able to call the display method also in this program. So to access the overridden methods of superclass, also we can use super keyword. That is what I mentioned here as the third use of the super keyword. What is the third use? To access overridden methods of superclass. So here also what we can do is we can use the super keyword, but in a different way. So you observe in the subclass version of display method, I am writing as first statement super dot display. So what is this going to do? When you call display method of C by using object C1, which is an object of C class. So I'm calling C1.display. So from here you'll come to this display method, and in this display method again in turn you are going to make a call to the immediate superclass version of the display method. This will call the display method of superclass, that is display method in class B. So again in class B's display method you are making a call to superclass display. Whose superclass? Class B superclass. So this is class A, which is superclass for class B. Here also you are making a call, right? So finally this method will be called. So this is the purpose of second purpose or third purpose of the super keyword in your Java program. Okay. So we'll discuss about this once again tomorrow because time is over today. So let me start with this program only in the morning tomorrow. So meanwhile, go through this video. I've streamed it on YouTube. I'll send you the link now. So you can go through this current program, today's class, so, and recollect the topic for tomorrow morning again. So I'll explain you this third purpose again in the morning, to access overridden methods of superclass and also access hidden variables of super, right? So that one also we'll do tomorrow. Is that okay? Yashwant,
Yeah.
hello?
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. ఇప్పుడే అన్ని చెప్తే నీకు కొంచెం ఇప్పుడే ఆల్రెడీ కన్ఫ్యూజ్డ్గా ఉన్నావు, అందుకనే ఆపేస్తున్నా. ఇప్పుడు నువ్వు ఒకసారి మళ్ళీ రికలెక్ట్ చేసుకో టాపిక్స్, క్లాస్ అండ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ని రికలెక్ట్ చేసుకో, కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్ టాపిక్ ని ఆల్సో ఓవర్ రైడ్ ఒకసారి రికలెక్ట్ చేసుకుంటే రేపు పొద్దున్న క్లాస్ తీసుకుంటాం. లేదు నీకు రికలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవడానికి కొంచెం టైం కావాలంటే విల్ టేక్ ఇట్ ఆన్ మండే అండ్ టుమారో మార్నింగ్ విల్ గో త్రూ ద ప్రీవియస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ విచ్ యూ డిడ్ కంప్లీట్ డే. So I'll clear those doubts today, tomorrow morning, and then we'll continue with this super usage on Monday. Okay, it is up to you. It is your choice.
Okay, sir. I'll let you know by tomorrow.
Yeah. Anyhow, tomorrow morning I'll take class, but it depends what I'm going to teach. It depends on your decision. Okay. Fine.